Good evening, everyone. I'll call the October meeting of the council to order. The mayor is away on a trip across the country for the next week or so, so I'm taking over in the chair. And before we move to the agenda, I would like, I'm sure some of you, or many of you are aware that on September 12th, Constable Frank Duchesne was tragically killed in a traffic accident on the Trans-Canada Highway. Constable Duchesne was a close to a 15-year member of the RCMP. He was a former member of the musical Ride and of the Special Tactical Operations, and he was currently serving in the Nova Scotia Traffic Services. And in 2013, he was recognized for heroism and received the Queen's Jubilee Medal. I'd just like, if, with your indulgence, we can observe a moment of silence in the memory of Constable Duchesne. Thank you. All right, we need a motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Tower, second, Councillor Finney. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Against? Now we'll move on to question period. Is there anyone with questions of council?
I don't have a question, but may I just invite you to a meeting? I've presented each of the councillors with an invitation to a public presentation for the extramural program. We understand that it's on the chopping block or it is going to be privatized. Our meeting that we're going to have is on October the 21st from 2 to 4 in the Middle Sackville Baptist Church gym, and that's on 14 Church Street for anybody that's not aware of Middle Sackville Baptist Church. And we do have a presentation by Cecile Casesta. She's the Executive Director of the Coalition for Seniors. Also, Shirley Oliver, most of you are aware of Shirley. She was the former director for the extramural here in Sackville and in the Tantramar area. This, to me, is so important, and it is essential that you folks come and attend. I'm not asking you to stand up and wave your hands and say we can't do this, but it's so important that you come to the meeting and attend. One of the things about this, and we don't really know what's going to happen, but we do have an office right in Sackville here that serves the Tantramar area. And there's that possibility it could move out, and it could mean that those folks have to travel from Moncton to various spots around our Tantramar region. So it's very important. I'd ask you to spread the word, but I'd also ask you to attend as mayor and council. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pat. Is there anyone else? All right. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to accept the minutes of the regular council meeting of September 11th, 2017. Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Evans, second. Question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. I need a motion to accept the minutes of the special meeting of council of October 2nd, 2017. Councillor Mitten, second by Councillor Butcher. All those in favor? Aye. And accept the minutes of the closed in-camera meeting of council October 2nd, 2017. Councillor Mitten, and seconded by Councillor Evans. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Are there any business arising from the minutes? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to the Southeast Regional Services. I attended the Service Commission meeting with Mayor Hyam last month, and most of the time was devoted to the motions you'll see coming down later this evening about our participation in various regional programs. Some of these are mandatory and some are optional, and as you'll see, we have opted into one of them with some, I guess, caveats that we'd like to see enacted. Aside from that, they're just general business as usual at the Service Commission, buying bits of equipment for the waste management facility and so on. On planning, Lori Bickford is not here tonight, but her report appears on page 17 of the package. All right. Point 8, we have a proclamation. And I apologize to anyone if I mess up the initials on this one. Whereas Sackville's two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, asexual, plus 2SLGBTQA plus community is a vibrant and proud group within Sackville's community at large. And whereas the triumvirate that collaborates to make Sackville a positive, safe town for 2SLGBTQA plus persons, the town of Sackville, Mount Allison Students' Union, the Mount Allison University's Catalyst Group, and the Mount Allison University's Get Real Group. And whereas the 2SLGBTQA plus community aims to establish positive educational forums to raise awareness and celebrate the diversity of our citizens. And whereas the 2SLGBTQA community recognizes that a gay-straight alliance is imperative to the well-being of both societies. And whereas the 2SLGBTQA plus committee encourages dialogue as a tool towards tolerant and accepting society in the Sackville area. Therefore, I, Ron Aiken, Deputy Mayor of the town of Sackville, hereby proclaim October 9th to 16th, 2017, Pride Week in Sackville, recognizing that everyone has the right to live in conditions of dignity, respect, and peace, regardless of sexual orientation and gender diversity. So proclaimed. Okay, we now move on to the reports for the evening. And the mayor's report, the mayor left me a series of notes about what he's been up to. And I can't offer too much more explanation on these than just what he says in here. On Maloney Electric, they've had more sessions with a prospective new operator, and there are a few hurdles that have to be overcome, but they're trying to address them as we move along. Terra Beata, was going to be a frozen storage facility in the industrial park, appears to be moving along, and we hope we can announce something on this very soon. The mayor provided remarks at the official announcement of the addition of the Tantramar to the Cumberland chapter of MADD. The group continues to seek volunteers from here to join them. And MAD worked with the CPO to place new signs, and you may have seen them around town, on trying to stop drunk driving. The mayor met with the Rotary Club and advised several members of possible projects that they might want to be involved in with us. He gave opening remarks at the Fall Fair and Farm Day and attended along with several hundred others. The mayor attended the memorial for Eldon Hay at the Mount A Chapel and continued regular multiple contacts with our MLA on issues, many issues facing us. Too much to go into at one meeting. And Rick Colburn is an Indigenous scholar invited by Mount A to advise on how it can better link and assist with Aboriginal entrepreneurism. And he had a half-hour chat with Mr. Colburn on how to grow entrepreneurism, especially Indigenous, in the town. On the school's 2020 front, he heard a few developments, including a tour of the St. Anne's School community facility in Fredericton. We had a Premier's Forum here in town where the Premier showed up at the Civic Center, and attendees were asked to provide topics for input and input on various issues. And our ideas were well received, and the responses suggested they were understood even before we talked about them. The Mount A Executive Group meeting, we had a meet and greet in town, at Mount A. We attended the meeting of the Mount A Executive and put forward our ideas about our strategic plan and identified areas where Mount A and the town could work together. The mayor also attended the farewell for Chancellor Peter Mansbridge and provided a farewell speech and a gift to Mr. Mansbridge. We all attended the UMNB conference last weekend, and we had 4 resolutions the town advanced on various topics, and all were adopted and passed unanimously. So the UMNB will get to work on these things with the provincial government. And full reports on the UMNB will be added to the November 6th discussion group. We received notice also that Sackville will henceforth be recognized as community champion of the Trans-Canada Trail. The mayor met with Mayor Cogan of Amherst and Warden Gillis of Cumberland with Bill Casey and Dominic LeBlanc voicing our concerns about the inadequacy of the dikes, both here and across the marsh in Amherst, and had the impression they made quite a bit of headway with these people, considering they understand the scope and the risk involved, which would be, if there's a flood and the dikes breach, would be economically catastrophic around here. He attended a public session on the Pro-Wind and Beausejour Energy Initiative and met with Pro-Wind staff and discussed possible investments the company might make in town if the project is approved. And finally, he had raised matters with the staff, with MCM staff at the MNB, specifically our application for funding for our asset management plan, and how they might be able to assist us with that and with steps addressing climate adaptation issues around town. And that was what I was provided for the mayor's report. And now we'll move on to the CAO report.
Thank you, Worship. September was once again another busy month for the staff and all the departments. I think most would probably agree our annual fall fair was a highlight during the month, and I certainly wish to recognize and thank the hard effort and number of hours that staff put in working on that, and the many volunteers in the community that came out to help stage another successful event. The reports are all contained in the package, and as you'll see, there's lots of activity within those reports. Capital projects are proceeding along well. We certainly have a few more resolutions on the agenda for this evening as well. And financially, the current year, as you'll hear later on, seems to be in good order as far as 2017. And we're underway in terms of our schedule for the 2018 budget process, with our first public session scheduled for the 24th of October. And finally, I guess just would like to thank Town Council for providing me the opportunity to attend the UMNB event as well in Fredericton. So with that, those are my comments, unless there's any questions.
Is there any questions from council? Thank you. Moving on now onto the Finance Administration Report, and Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Worship. The bills and payrolls are on page 19 and 20, and I do not believe there's any major anomalies in there at all. The overtime is for a lot of the flushing and water sampling and chalk festival, sewage blocks, and otherwise it's a straightforward month for us, and I'll have a motion on that. I'll do that one right now if it's all right. I move that council accept the bills and payroll for the month of September 2017 as follows. General government, $0. I'm waiting for this. I knew she had it. Thank you very much. I'll get back to that now. Except to remove the bills and payroll for the month of September 2017 as follows. General government, $272,886.67. Capital, $633,765.84. Utility government, $30,113.94. And utility capital, $40,773.12. Salaries of $217,374.30.
And do I have a seconder? Councillor Mitten, second. Any question?
I do like that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Moving right along here. The financial information is on pages 21 to 27. The financial statements are to the end of September, and as our CAO has alluded to, that after 3 quarters, our fiscal year and overall budget appear to be on track. There are no major anomalies that will cause large deficits for the year end, although Finance now is proceeding with a detailed review of year-end projections. An application was submitted early August under the FCM Asset Management Plan funding to perform our asset management plan, as well as other required policies and assessments. We received word on October 3rd that a decision would be made in the next 3 to 8 weeks. I can also add to that when I was conversing with the lady deeply involved with it, she thought most of them happened within 5 weeks. They're working along fine. Remains to see what happens with ours. Water and sewer billings for a 3-month period of July 1st to September 30th are being worked on. The meter reads were read on October 2nd, and the bills should be coming out sometime this week. There appears to be about 75 to 100 accounts that did not read for this quarter because of batteries dying in the receivers, and now Public Works will be concentrating on replacing these meters and reading devices as part of the upgrade program. Water shutoff letters were sent out in September 26th and require their accounts to be paid or arrangements made by October 25th. There were 73 accounts that received shutoff notices for a value of $69,867.97. That compares with 115 accounts in September of 2016 for a total of $110,055.51. Good advancement. The province, work continues with the province relative to our Lawrence Street Phase 1 and 2 projects. Finance is involved in filling out reports and submissions for claim for reimbursements. 2 are now submitted for reimbursement, having received funds on the first claim, and advised that our second one has now been approved in the reimbursement amount of $888,663. With that, that leaves that we have now been paid or approved for payments of $996,965 of the $4,020,785 funding for Phase 1 and 2. Finance currently is working on the budget documents and will be sending them out to department heads for review and submissions. We will be meeting the staff level for the first draft in accordance with the understanding that the property tax assessment has been frozen, so this will be a difficult year. Our first public budget meeting will be held on October 24th at 7 p.m. in council chambers, where individuals and groups will be able to make presentations to council with suggestions on what the priorities of council should be in 2018. We will provide details of the 2017 budget allocations prior to this meeting to allow people to see where our funds went in 2017 to help with comments and suggestions. Staff have reviewed budget documents received from the Southeast Regional Service Commission for the mandatory services of solid waste, local planning, and regional cooperative planning, as well as optional services of the Regional Destination Marketing Organization, Tourism, and Asset Management, GIS. Recommendations are forthcoming tonight with the motions. Staff continue to work towards hiring an assistant treasurer. They expect to have the decision and recommendation to council no later than early November, with hopes of filling the position in mid-November. Ultra Alarm is scheduled to come in. Actually, they are in here working away, or were. They may be finished by now. I haven't heard any. They are. Thank you, Craig. I haven't heard the obnoxious noise, so that shows a positive sign. Replacement of the sensors and the fire alarm. As previously noted, we removed the carbon monoxide monitoring from the detectors, with the primary detection now being smoke only. This was approved by the Fire Marshal's office, It will also save us financially down the road. Olton College bylaw students have now completed their term for 2017. Enjoyed having 3 of them on the town staff for the summer. I wish Brooke Wilson, Josh Best, and Tristan Yona all the best as they graduate from the program and move on to their future careers. The bylaw and animal enforcement statistics are on page 28 and 29. Any questions for that?
Any questions of Councillor Tower?
Okay. Hearing none, I have a few motions here. Get that one out of the way. I move that council authorize the allocation for the Southeast Regional Service Commission for the 2018 budget year for the mandatory service as follows. Solid waste services, $114,783, and local planning services of $208,810.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Evans seconds it. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I move that council authorize the allocation for the Southeast Regional Services Commission for the 2018 budget year for the mandatory services of cooperative and regional planning in the amount of $4,235, of which $486 represents the additional funding and $1,296 will be the total funding from Sackville for the Regional Recreation Trail Council.
Can I have a seconder? Councillor Black?
Could we have some background on that for public?
Yeah, the Regional Service Commissions has sent out their budgets looking for feedback prior to a 45-day window that would expire mid this month. So what we're doing now is passing our resolutions for 2018, which we would normally do during the budget process. What this one in particular is it's mandatory service, but of cooperative and regional planning. But within that service, they have put funding for the regional trail council, recreation trail council. I guess Matt can explain Matt and Jamie can explain the specifics of the regional trail council, and but the additional funding of the $4,235 would be $486, and the total funding that goes to the recreation trail council is $1,296. Do you guess we should?
Thanks, Mike. So the Recreation Trail Council would be a subcommittee of the the regional board. So there'd be a minimum of 2 board members on that trail council, and then the other members of the council would be applicants who had applied to take part on the trail council. So they would be individuals in the Tantramar region who have an interest in trails, or not Tantramar, sorry, the Southeast region that have an interest in trails and some sort of expertise, but not necessarily directly linked to any particular geographical area or municipality.
Okay. Question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I move that council accept. Pardon me. Yep. I move that council accept the proposal from the Southeast Regional Service Commission for optional services of the Regional Destination Marketing Organization, which would be tourism, for the 2018 budget year with the maximum cost of $3,642, which would be 50% of the requested amount in the 2018, with the following being understood as the deliverables. A plan to create an interactive and easily updated website for regional assets and events, clear and compelling branding for the region, a plan for advertising the region in the major media and through other means.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor O'Neill? Councillor Evans?
For those of you who weren't here last week when we had a fairly good discussion about this, some of these Regional Service Commission costs are mandatory, so we can object or we can pay them, but we'll end up paying them. They're mandatory. That's my understanding. These optional ones are recommended to us, I guess, by the board. And one of the problems with this is that communities can opt out. And so if we go along with this, everybody who opts out, that share has to get paid by the remaining member. And if there are fixed costs, then the cost for each of the remaining members can go up dramatically. So I think just to summarize the discussion we had, this is in principle a really good idea. We think this might be a more effective way to promote tourism in the area. But there's a risk that if enough communities, especially the bigger communities, don't participate, that it might not work out very well. So we're kind of hedging. We're agreeing to go along with it, but we're only paying part of what we'd be expected to pay for the first year, and we're hoping that things work out. Is that a fairly fair summary of what happened we discussed last week?
I might add to that that it was the mayor actually that put forward this idea to the Service Commission, that we didn't think it was proper to pay the full amount when the operation wasn't even up and running yet. So that's why we've, one of the reasons we've done this. Okay. All right. Question? Oh, sorry, Councillor Mitten.
Thank you. I do think there is potential here, but as we discussed last week, it's hard to have confidence in some of the new plans coming out because it wasn't really well laid out for us what exactly is going to happen. So I think it's good that we're going to commit to 50% of the funding to sort of see how it goes. And we do have the list of conditions. And I do think this is the best choice to make, given that our current tourism organization, the Cultural Coast, has been struggling and may not exist and hasn't been able to support us the way we'd like. So I think that this is the best option, and I really do hope it goes well. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blunt?
I just had a quick question. I agree. I think that with the Cultural Coast kind of going to the wayside, this is pretty much a replacement for it and a good option. But we have these deliverables. I mean, how much clout does that hold? What if they don't? What if this doesn't deliver? Is there any? I mean, we're hoping that this stuff gets accomplished and benefits Southeast Region and Sackville. But
thank you, Councillor Black. I don't believe we can, ask for our money back if they don't achieve these things, but I think it gives them a directive that hopefully they will pay attention to and follow. And it also gives us something to come back on next year if they haven't achieved these things. And I think we'll have some sort of thing we can measure their success on that will allow us to make an effective decision for the following year. So.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Finney?
I was just going to ask, we can opt out of this next year if it doesn't work out? Can we?
My understanding is that that's uncertain, that we don't know. They did ask for a one-year commitment, and then beyond that, they haven't asked for any specific commitment. So it's not clear whether it will even continue, from my understanding, but I'd be welcome to be corrected on that.
Yeah, my impression from the discussion was that you could opt out of it if you chose to. No refunds, but you can opt out. Okay, question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I move that council reject the proposal from the Southeast Regional Service Commission for the optional service of Asset Management Plan, GIS services, and advise them that the town of Sackville will not be participating in this service for the 2018 budget year. And I'll have Mike speak on that after.
Seconder? Councillor Finney? Mr. Beal?
Yeah, the proposal had come forward at a price around 16,000 originally. It has since been adjusted as another larger municipality has chosen not to participate. So they were looking at this point in time for Sackville to contribute $20,000. The funds are not looking for to create an asset management plan, but rather look at providing GIS services. With what we've done in Sackville over the last number of years, we've purchased ArcGIS. We've been hiring students throughout the summer to begin the process. We're looking at having GPS equipment to be able to handle locates on our own. And discussions with the town engineer and myself, we've recommended to council that we not participate in this and continue down this road on our own, and to be able to look after the asset management program for the town of Sackville in-house.
Thank you. Councillor Evans?
Oh, yeah. Actually, Mike made the point. The thing I want to make clear is that at the UMNB, we had several really good presentations about the importance of asset management. And so the fact that we're rejecting the proposal from the Regional Service Commission doesn't mean we're rejecting asset management. We're slightly ahead of the curve. We're already doing it. We've applied for funding to sort of enhance how we do it or make it cheaper. So we're committed to this. We're going ahead with this. And as the Treasurer just said, it doesn't make sense for us to get help doing stuff that we're already doing.
Okay, anybody question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to the Tourism and Business Development Report. Councillor Minton?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the Tourism and Business Development Liaison Group met on September 25th. And the department continues to work on the highway sign image update, and we anticipate we will have a sign design and details on its installation for the November council meeting. Sorry, I forgot to note this is on page 30 of the packet. So this year in 2017, there were 842 visitors at the information center, the exact same as in 2016. We are again collecting data from local merchants and tourism operators to see how numbers were over the month, but our data so far shows generally an increase overall. The department has been and the town has been hosting tourism and business development strategic planning sessions. There were 2 last week on the 4th and 5th, and there is one planned for tomorrow night. I believe it's October 11th at 7 here at Town Hall. I was able to attend last week one of the sessions, and it was great to hear from community members, hear their input and to hear an update on current operations, talk about where we're going to go next. So everyone's welcome to attend tomorrow night. Preparations for the Canada 150 Plus play are continuing, and it has now been renamed Sackville Stories. It will be performed November 3rd at the Drew, and November 4th at 7 p.m., and November 5th at 2 p.m. at the Legion. And approximately 20 people are participating in the project, ranging from ages 8 to in their 70s. And ticket details will be available soon. The manager attended a video making workshop presented by the Tourism Industry Association of New Brunswick in September to receive training in video production for social media and other media. And the manager also attended a Think Big Economic Development Day presented by Atlantic Business Magazine in Moncton. A subcommittee of the Waterfowl Park Advisory Committee has been meeting to begin planning for the 30th anniversary celebrations of the park next year, and details will be presented at the November council meeting. Staff have been in discussions about the proposal for the Regional Service Commission, and we just passed a motion on that. And the town was recently advised by the New Brunswick Trails Council that we received $9,000 through the Trail Infrastructure Funding Program by the Department of Tourism, Heritage and Culture for trail maintenance and bridge repair in the Sackville Waterfowl Park. So a portion of our application also included the construction of the observation tower, which has now been built. And we are very pleased to receive this funding and would like to thank the Department of Tourism, Heritage and Culture for this generous grant. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Councillor Benton or Mr. Kelly-Sparrows? Councillor O'Neill?
I was just wondering, I see where you say that there were 842 visitors. Are they counted by individuals or is it by parties?
Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. That's an excellent question. It's by parties. The province, we don't actually report our statistics to them anymore, but we had for several years, and their standard was that it was by parties. So there could be one person in a party or 3 or 4 people in a party. So that's just the base number. And
do we have any idea how their visits sort of interact with our craft shop?
the only metric I would have is that, from that, is that I believe every month this year, the craft gallery has been up in business. So that indicates that they are getting more people in, so.
Councillor Finney?
I was just wondering, Councilor Minton, you said you attended one of these sessions, and I'm just wondering, how many people were there?
Okay, I need to think back. I guess there were about 10 people that attended. This was the Wednesday morning one, so from 8:30 till past 10:30. So I think it was at least about 10 people that were there.
Maybe the all local people? Or some from other areas that maybe were, because I believe it was an invite for everybody, was it not, Mr. Sparrows? So I was just wondering, you know, if it's just local or whether some other people from outside.
Yeah, we've had about 10 people at both of the meetings, and there was one person who is a worker from Riverview that we've had a fair number of interaction with. She is very good at developing regional tourism initiatives, and she asked me if she could attend, and we didn't see any conflict in terms of what she actually offered some very good suggestions, so we're pleased to have her.
Councillor Black?
Thank you. The trail infrastructure funding program, the $9,000 that we got through the grant. Part of that money is being used for the observation tower. That's correct, not the full 9,000, right? Is this when the observation tower was going up, there was some concern about how expensive it was for what it was, and it looks great in the waterfowl park. But we thought that we might be able to get some funding through a grant that we were going to look into. Was this that grant?
Thank you, Councillor Black. This is a portion of it. I guess we didn't get all of which we asked for from the Trails Council, but we're certainly grateful to the department for giving us some contribution. I guess we're also extremely pleased that the Sackville Rotary Club has also agreed to a $2,000 contribution. So again, we'd like to thank our local Rotary Club, and that's the second project in 2017 that they have contributed to, the booster pump being the first one. So when you combine the funds we've received from Cowan Insurance, Sears Insurance, the Sackville Rotary Club, the town's contribution, as well as the provincial contribution, we're pretty close to what we had originally budgeted for the observation tower. So we're very, very pleased at this point in the budget process.
Thank you very much. I figured that was going to be the answer. I'm always thoroughly impressed at the staff for being able to get the funding that we get in town. So great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll move on now to public properties and facilities. Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Worship. The information is on pages 32 to 34. Public Works staff started the Bridge Street lift station and construction project the 1st September and worked throughout the fall until it will be completed. The project is progressing well and expect to be ready for asphalt paving in the next few weeks. The lift station installation has come with some challenges. The staff have been able to get it installed and working on the final hookup following the installation of the equipment controls over the next several weeks. Public Works Department finished all the required work on the additional steel storage building at the Public Works facilities, and they're very pleased with the outcome, and they're now starting to put some of their equipment back in, like the barricades and water and sewer pipes, etc. The street sweeper to clean the gutters and the streets is continually going on, and Dwayne tells me that they should be able to do it until January, I guess, eh? I know, it's a dream, right. Yep, right on. Public Works also helped with the preparation and cleanup of the Fall Fair event. Public Works Department completed the installation of the arts wall plaques on the new pedestals during the last week of September in time for the unveiling on October 1st. Public Works Department completed the installation of the flagpole and foundation as part of the Canada 150 project at Sackville Cemetery besides George Stanley grave site. Utility Department worked on obtaining water meter reads that were not obtained during the last meter read process. They will continue to evaluate these meters to determine and fix the meters or the MX units as required. The Utility Department installed 2 new utility services on Ogden Mill Road. Mechanics conducted ongoing maintenance of the equipment, repaired all breakdowns, and any fire and rescue vehicles required servicing or repairs. And they also were now working on the winter equipment. Ongoing for sure. The engineering department continues to work with Crandall Engineering on the design of the Lawrence Street reconstruction and stormwater mitigation project. The two tenders, 2017-02 and 03 for phase 1 of the project, continue to progress for September with both contractors, Dexter Construction and Bowser's Construction, respectively. The work on these 2 tenders appears to be scheduled to the point on time. Construction with the 2 tenders will continue throughout the fall until completed, of course. And if we can keep the snow and other stuff away, as into January, we should be okay. Crandall Engineering are finalizing the details of phase 2 with an update on phase 1 of the public and a public consultation on phase 2 scheduled for November 1st, 2017, which will be here in the council chambers. Engineering department has been working with the contractor Meritech on the construction of the new storage facility, and all shop drawings and details have been approved, and construction has started this week. The construction of the new building will continue until late fall. Engineering and Public Works Department have been working with Veolia on the details for the required upgrades of the water treatment plant, which include upgrades to the PLC panels at this facility, and they're working with Veolia on the few minor upgrades as part of the 2017 capital budget for the water treatment plant upgrades. A motion is coming tonight, and I'll ask Dwayne during that time to give a bigger background to it. The engineering corporate projects have been working on RFP 2017-17 for Exit 506 Land Use and Functional Planning Study. The RFP issued and closed on September 19th with detailed report issued to council on October 2nd. Discussion for their review. A motion will be coming forward tonight. The Veterans Memorial Civic Center, the 2017-18 ice season is underway with the Mount Allison Girls Hockey, Sackville Minor Hockey, Sackville Skate Club, Gents League, Faculty Hockey, 45 and over hockey, men's hockey, Titans boys, intramural hockey, and the return of the Titan girls hockey are really pushing that thing to a nice busy season, hopefully. Skate sharpening is available during the Civic Center's hours for $5 a pair. It is recommended to show up early before your ice time to get your skates sharpened or drop them off in advance. Fall Fair's Saturday, September 16th, the Rotarian Club Fall Breakfast was held at the Civic Center with over 400 breakfasts being sold. Lunchtime skates have started on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 12 to 1:30. Lunch skate are now open for the public, $3 for adults, $2 for seniors 65 plus and children under 12 years of age, or $8 for a family pass. Yearly passes are also available for the center. This service is also part of the Mount Allison students' ID number. The rental rooms can be requested at bookings.com. Pardon me, make that bookings at Sackville.com. The other one is a hotel, I believe. The municipal parks. The new lookout at the Waterfowl Park is completed and now open to the public and looks mighty fine. Where everybody seems to be quite pleased, and we encourage the public to get out there and see just how useful it can be. The staff have received pricing for the 20 by 20 shade structure for the Memorial Park as part of the Canada 150 project. Details of the project were presented to the council for their review and approval. Motion will be coming tonight. The staff are continuing to work on the expansion of the skate park as part of the Canada 150 project, and once we have finalized the design and obtained the pricing on this work, we will provide details to council for their review and approval. The town has received approval from DTI to proceed with the work on the trail leading from Tantamar Regional High School parking lot to the old rail bed. Contracts will be starting this work in the next couple of weeks. The trail will be closed during this construction time for safety purposes. The beautification of exit 506 was started in the month of September, or Beach Hill landscaping, and will continue over the next few weeks until completed. The splash pad is closed for the season. The outside washrooms at Bill Johnson's Memorial Park will remain open until the end of October. The dock and buoy lines will be removed from Silver Lake before the end of this month. One washroom will remain open at Lilas Fawcett Park until the end of October. Beach Hill Park potable water is being tested weekly, but water will be shut off at the end of October. And staff will be out in the parks doing fall maintenance for a couple of days a week as scheduling permits. If there's any concerns from the public, please contact Parks and Facilities Department at 364-4955 or email bookings@sackville.com. To book a sports field or a spot in one of the parks for an event, you're supposed to send your request to bookings@sackville.com also. That's that part.
Thank you, Councillor Tower. Are there any questions of Councillor Tower or Mr. Acton? Councillor Black?
Thank you. It's more of a comment. I was approached by a constituent last week who works downtown and asked me what was going on Lawrence Street. They knew that the street was being repaved and had no idea of anything else that was happening with Lawrence Street or the ins and outs of the project. Phase 1, what was potentially going to happen with Phase 2. She was really happy to hear an explanation of what I could give her for Phase 1 and Phase 2. That being said, I'm just putting a shout out to the Sackville citizens at large to come to the public consultation on November 1st to be informed as much as you can about what's going on with Phase 1 and to hear about the potential for Phase 2 and what's going to be involved in our town, which is a huge undertaking. So please come out and show some support, ask some questions, and be engaged. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Finney?
Tell me exactly how much longer is Mount A going to be working on York Street next to the Gardner Building? Any idea? Have they said anything?
Yeah, I've had discussions with them. They're going to be working throughout the winter on the overall project. The outside work is slightly behind schedule. It's going to be several more weeks before they get cleaned up on the outside work on that. But I've had discussions with the facilities manager there and continue to have discussions with them so we can get our road repaired there. We've been kind of waiting for them to get some of theirs done so that we can go in with the curb and gutter and then repair the road. And we're hoping the curb and gutter will go in this week, late this week, early next week, and we can get the road repaved there. So we've been kind of holding off on that.
Quite a while doing that, as a matter of fact, thank you.
Thank you. I had a question for Mr. Pride. I noticed that one of the plaques is missing off the arts wall. Has that been vandalized, or was it taken down for repair, or?
Yeah, thank you. There was a little bit of damage done to it during the installation, so
Okay.
we pulled it off for now, and we're going to replace it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councilor Tower?
Thank you, Worship. All right, motion time. I move that council award the supply and installation of a 20 by 20 wooden shade structure at Memorial Park to Mike Culp Construction as part of the Canada 150 project in the amount of $19,837.75, HST included.
Seconded by Councilor Finney.
Would you like
Councillor
to give
O'Neill?
some feedback on it?
Councilor O'Neill?
I just have a question. I just wondered, do we have a diagram or a picture or anything that you can put up to show what that's going to look like?
I have to apologize. I had sent an email out last week to council with a very broad sketch of what was going on there, but we don't actually have a drawing per se of the actual shade structure that's going in the park, but it's similar to exactly what I sent out last week. That style, just the colors will be different. It'll be like a natural wood color.
Okay. All right, question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. I move that council approve RFP 2017-17 for exit 506 land use and functional planning study to Aesthetics Planning, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, in the amount of $27,117, HST included.
And a seconder? Councilor Minton?
I don't know if we need any feedback on that.
Any questions from council?
Okay, question?
Okay, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and I will have Dwayne give feedback on this one. I move that council approve the water treatment plant upgrades to the 2 PLCs from Veolia North America in the amount of $53,406.79, HST included.
And do I have a seconder? Councilor Minton?
Now if we can get Dwayne to give us feedback.
Yeah, Dwayne, could you give some explanation?
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. This process with the upgrades to the water treatment plant started back actually a couple years ago now, where we had the computers needed to be upgraded from the old XPS or to the new Windows 7 platform. That proceeded into phase 2, which was the PLCs. The PLCs were the original PLCs that were put into the plant when it was originally built. The PLCs are basically what controls and turn pumps on and off, senses temperatures, flows. It's what we call the input and output of the whole entire plant. And these PLCs need to be upgraded. The equipment that's in them is, as you can imagine with computers nowadays, 5 years and they're obsolete. And that's no different than PLCs, where the equipment in them now needs to be upgraded to more modern equipment. We're having difficulty getting repair parts for them because they are somewhat obsolete. So These upgrades will bring us up the equipment up to today's standard, today's equipment, which will easily to access parts if need be, and that's part of this whole water treatment plant upgrades.
Thank you. Councillor Evans?
I just wanted to clarify that, or confirm that this is planned and it's budgeted. This is not a repair. This is something that we anticipated, talked about 2 years ago. We decided to do it in stages. This is all normal and scheduled and budgeted.
And thank you, Councillor Evans. Apologize, I wasn't able to be here for the discussion group meeting, but yes, it is, and probably reported there, it is something that was been planned for some time. It's definitely all budgeted for, and we are within budget on our upgrades in general at the water treatment plant, and this fits within that budget.
Thank you, Mr. Acton. Any more questions? Got a call for the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on now to recreation programs and events, and Councillor Butcher.
Thank you. The Recreation Programs and Events Liaison Group was unable to meet in September, but here are the highlights and initiatives. The manager will be representing the Trailblazers After School program at the Recreation MB Conference. That's coming up on October 19th in Fredericton. We have pickleball, Trailblazers, and Big Buddies programs now in operation. And we are accepting registration at Town Hall for a morning aquasize class in partnership with the Cumberland YMCA, as well as country line dancing. And both programs began today. The department is in discussions to offer a Learn to Play Pokemon workshop and a weekly group ukulele program for children. The community development grant applications are now available online for the 2018 granting year, and the applications are due this week on the 15th. The inaugural Sackville Ultimate Frisbee League has begun operation, and there's enough members for 2 teams, and the games are played on Sunday evenings at the Lawrence Street Soccer Field. The Sackville Gentlemen's Hockey Tournament is scheduled to take place at the Tantramar Veterans Memorial Civic Center this coming weekend from the 13th till the 15th, and there are 7 teams that have registered to take part. Our Biking Without Barriers accessible bicycle has arrived, and the manager trained 12 individuals to pilot the bicycle. The bicycle will be featured in the Pride Parade, and the staff is working to schedule a small community celebration to introduce the bike into the public. And to book the bicycle or to receive training, please contact Matt Pride at m.pride@sackville.com. The Sports Wall of Fame nominees, the nominations are now available online at www.sackville.com, and the nomination deadline is January 12th, 2018. And the Sackville Arts Wall induction ceremony took place on October 1st. And this year's inductees were Julie Dwaron, Mary Connolly, and Thaddeus Halonia. And everyone got to see the new Arts Wall display for the first time there at the ceremony on the 1st. The department has been offering some promotional support to a new karate program and a new judo program for the town. And our 17th Fall Fair took place over the weekends of the 14th to the 17th, and the fair was considered an overwhelming success. There were thousands of people who came to town to take in the festivities. So a huge thank you to all the staff in the Public Works and Parks departments, as well as Deanna Cadman, all of who go above and beyond to make this event a success each year. And we would also like to thank the 100+ volunteers who make the fair possible. Staff have already begun planning for 2018 and have confirmed that there will be a midway next year. And the 19th annual Fall Fair dates will be the 20th to the 23rd of September 2018. Our Pride Parade for this year will be held on October 12th this week. Speeches begin at 5:10 at Mount Allison. And another upcoming event is the annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony, which will be taking place on December 8th as part of Moonlight Madness. Stay tuned for times and other additional details. The library report. The library received a youth employment grant worker who has been working out very well. She works 30 hours a week, and she will be here for a 6-month period. During September, the library offered 17 programs to 143 participants, and they also helped out with the TFRC book sale held in the library basement during Fall Fair. And during September, the meeting room was booked 14 times. And that's my report.
Thank you. Are any questions of Councillor Butcher or Councillor Evans?
Just general praise for the, all the wonderful programs that are being offered, and I just wanted to tell people, they probably already know, but the speeches begin at Mount A with the Pride Parade, but then there'll be a parade through town down here, there'll be a flag raising at Town Hall as well, and then a little something in the park as well, if you could, yeah. Well, I didn't want to say that, let the official word confirm it, but that's my understanding. There's more to it than just speeches, I want people to come out, you know.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, there'll be speeches up at just outside the Mount Allison Chapel, starting around 10 after 5. And then 5:45, the parade will march down to Town Hall, and we'll raise the flag here. And then up at Bill Johnstone Park, there'll be cake and barbecue and some live music.
Councillor Finney?
Yeah, Matt, can you tell me who's actually putting forth the new karate program and the judo program? And where will they be taking place?
The karate program, I'm not sure of the gentleman's name, but I know it's taking place at the Commons, and they've partnered with them. And then the judo program is a gentleman from Moncton who sits on the New Brunswick Judo NB board, and he's the representative for the Southeast region on that board. And that's going to be, I just found out today actually that that's going to be taking place at the curling club.
Quite a few down around the Commons there this evening when I come up, and I think I noticed 3 gentlemen in judo outfits or whatever, so I just wondered, I didn't know what was going on either.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move on to public safety and Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you. The report is on page 37, 38. Our fire and rescue responded to 13 calls for service in the month of September, and their calls continue to climb. They're up 23 calls so far this year in service compared to last year at this date and time. Training sessions continued during the month of September. As well, firefighters held an open house at the station during the fall fair. The open house is always very well attended, with residents, young and old alike, gaining a clear understanding in how to better prepare their homes in the event of emergencies. Also, the kids enjoy looking at all of their equipment, as well as a lot of us older people do as well. This week is Fire Prevention Week, with the theme, Every Second Counts, Plan 2 Ways Out. They also remind us to remember to replace our smoke alarms every 10 years and to test these saving devices monthly. After the school year is upon us, and again the firefighters continue to cook pancakes for the children so that they can enjoy those every Tuesday morning on their breakfast program at the elementary school. The department wishes to send out thank yous to everyone in the community and the surrounding area who support their fire and rescue annual truck draw fundraiser. This year they sold over 3,200 tickets, so they say that it was a very well successful fundraiser for them. And they send out special thanks to their committee members, Main Street SO John Long, Sackville Tribune Post, the Sackville Independent, and many other businesses within the community and surrounding area who stand by their work. He also would like to remind all the citizens of Sackville and surrounding areas to begin preparing for their winter heating system and have their furnace, chimneys, and vents inspected and have them cleaned by a qualified professional. And he also reminds us, as much as we hate to think that maybe there'll be snow coming, but to ensure that our civic numbers are visible from the road. And I think that's all I have for his report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. Are there any questions of the Councillor or Chief Bowser? No? Okay. Then we'll move on to the RCMP report. Councillor Black.
Thank you. The RCMP report is on page 38 of the package. Sergeant Paul Gagne has returned to Sackville effective October 2nd. He was away for a 9-month absence. He is back to familiarizing himself with current investigations and pressures. Total calls for RCMP service for the area was at 154 calls compared to 121 for the same period last year. 15 property crimes were reported in Sackville. An analysis of property crimes in recent months did not reveal any patterns like last year. Sergeant Gagne stressed the importance of police visibility during our last liaison meeting. He feels that if the detachment can be more visible at key moments, aside from their regular routine, that it goes a long way to reinforce the ever-present sense of the RCMP in our town. This helps to quell potential law breaking before it starts, particularly with the Mount A students in return to school. Some of the steps taken to be more visible were foot patrols, attendance to public events, and check stops. 38 tickets were issued in September, with distracted driving, of course, and liquor violations seeing the most infractions. The CPO report is on page 39 and 40. As always, he is involved in the schools in town with Mount Allison University, working with their SAFE plan, Tantramar Regional High School attending regular visits, Marshview Middle School regularly visiting, and on September 29th, he and a constable provided traffic assistance for their Terry Fox run, and at Salem as well doing regular visits. In the community, he keeps up with his diversion committees. He issued 5 positive tickets in the month of September. He does continuous work with MAD Canada. There was an official launch in the Tantramar region done at Town Hall on September 14th, and they're now looking for Sackville volunteers. MAD Canada purchased 3 MAD signs to be installed in the town, which was stated in the mayor's report. For his committees, he's involved with Crime Stoppers, Block Parent Program, the LINK Program Committee, the Community Health Advisory Committee of Marshview Middle School, which is a committee that consists of a group of students, teachers, and parents that get together once in a while to discuss the future of Marshview kids and their mental health access. He is part of the committee in case he can help refer kids that are at risk more than others. Youth and Adult Diversion Committee, Access to Mental Health, and Mothers Against Drunk Driving as well. As far as training and administrative, he had 3 active adult files and 5 active youth files. And he had numerous presentations in town as well, most of those focusing on Mount Allison's return to the students returning to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any questions of either councillor? Okay, thank you. Move on to policy bylaw. And Councillor Evans?
Oh,
or Councillor
that's
Black?
right. Okay. Yeah, this is ruining our pattern, but I understand why I'm doing it this time. So you're stuck with me. During the policy bylaw meeting of September 21st, the meeting group discussed Town of Sackville's noise bylaw. That's bylaw number 246. Treasurer Mike Beal noted that all formal complaints are investigated on a case-by-case basis. After a discussion where we talked about the actual wording of the bylaw and problems with enforcing it and stuff, the decision was made that the bylaw the committee would not recommend to council that the bylaw be changed. As a result of a request regarding the issue of glyphosate, Deputy Mayor Ron Aiken gave a brief presentation at Policy Bylaw Committee meeting, and it was noted that Town of Sackville's pesticide bylaw was adopted prior to the province of New Brunswick adopting the Pesticide Control Act, which would supersede our town's bylaw. The meeting group felt that a resolution to support a ban on glyphosate would be an option for the town to consider, and we had a really good discussion at the discussion meeting on that topic, and there will be a motion forthcoming.
Thank you. Any questions?
Whereas protection of the environment is a fundamental value in Canadian society, and the safety of all Canadian communities depends on a healthy environment. And whereas limiting exposure to pesticides and herbicides promotes the health and safety of Canadians. And whereas objections have been raised by the City of Moncton and various environmental groups to the spraying of herbicides containing glyphosate, especially in watersheds for municipal water supplies. And whereas the International Agency for Research on Cancer of the World Health Organization has classified glyphosate and its formulations as probably carcinogenic, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Sackville voices its opposition to the indiscriminate spraying of glyphosate and any of its formulations, especially in watershed areas that service municipal water supplies, and urges the province of New Brunswick to closely monitor changes in evaluations of the carcinogenicity of this herbicide.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Tower. Is there any questions or discussion?
We had a really good discussion at discussion meeting, and I think I would like to repeat at least some of it for the benefit of people who weren't there. At least personally, I'm a believer in evidence-based decision-making. And when people who support the spraying with glyphosate say, Health Canada said that it's safe, that's pretty compelling until you read about what went into their decision. And their decision was based on really old information, some of it from 30 and 40 years ago. And when they recently reevaluated its safeness, they kind of pointed to the study, or to the conclusion they had come to just a little while ago. They didn't look at new evidence, and there's an awful lot of new evidence out there. And the people at UMNB who spoke in favor of spraying this were pretty smooth, but they also ignored all of the science that we're talking about. So we are not scientists. Well, one of us is, but the rest of us aren't. But we are concerned about how this came about, and the precautionary principle says if you're worried about possible damage, be careful. And so we're lobbying the provincial government to be a little more careful than they seem to be, because certainly the Mayor of Moncton is really concerned because they're spraying this stuff in the watershed area, and that seems to be contraindicated. So a little backstory.
Councillor Minton?
Thank you. I would also like to speak in favor of this motion. So we are asking for a stop to indiscriminate spraying, which can mean done at random, which I don't think is what's happening, but can also mean without careful judgment. And the judgment part is where we need to focus. We need to monitor the status of the carcinogenicity. Am I saying that right? And at this point, it is classified as probably carcinogenic, but again, we need to use the precautionary principle, because in situations like this, there is new data coming out. Sometimes science takes a while, but sometimes even the studies and effects won't be known until it's too late. And this has been shown with other pesticides in the past and other public health issues. There's also been a focus on forestry with the use of glyphosate in New Brunswick. And if the numbers that were presented to us at the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick conference were accurate, then it's only less than 5% of the use here. And agriculture is actually where humans and I guess everything in the environment are being exposed for the most part. And we do have limited power over that here, so we'll start with this, but that's where I think the discussion needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution's passed. Okay, personnel. Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Worship. The report's on page 43. Councillors Bearheim, myself, and Bill Evans, along with their CAO, met, and we found out that we have 37 permanent employees as of the pay period in September, plus 5 employees recreation maintenance. Our summer staff have completed their work for the term for this year, and the town is proceeding, as we've heard, with the hiring to fulfill our assistant treasurer position, with the hopes that that will be done by the end of November, I believe. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on. Corporate Affairs and Strategic Development, Councillor Butcher.
Thank you. So staff continues to assist the Engineering and Public Works Department on the Lawrence Street Stormwater Mitigation Project. They're assisting with the communications strategy and the preparatory work and the land assembly for Phase 2. And as was already mentioned, a public information session on Phase 1 and 2 is scheduled for November 1st here in the council chambers, starting at 6:30 p.m. And the engineering consulting team that's leading the project will be attending this session. A tentative plan pertaining to the Crown Reserve Road in the Stanley Drive area is still being reviewed by the Crown Lands branch of the New Brunswick Department of Natural Resources. The pins have been placed and most of the line has been blazed, so staff are just awaiting further instructions from the Crown Lands branch. Staff has been in contact with the branch on several occasions as the plan moves through the review process. Staff assisted the Engineer and Public Works Department with the evaluation of Exit 506 RFP, and staff is looking forward to working with the consultant on this project. Staff is progressing the projects included in our Canada 150 funding under the Municipal Development to commemorate Canada 150, and all the work associated with the applications need to be completed by December 31st of this year. So each of the 6 projects are progressing. Staff attended the 2018 Atlantic Planners Institute Conference in Charlottetown. That was on September 27th to 29th. And there were guest speakers including Mayor Jeff Lehman from the City of Barrie, Serena Tickles from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, Dr. Clarence Woodsma from the University of Waterloo, and Don Jardine from the University of Prince Edward Island Climate Lab. Presentations ranged from the local economy and culture to innovation and community engagement, spatial planning, policy development, data accumulation, and freight planning and livable communities, as well as other topics. Staff was very pleased to be able to attend the conference, and they would like to thank Council for the opportunity. Staff were pleased to attend a second door-to-door campaign with the Community Partnership Group on September 9th. The group divided into groups of 2 and visited several neighborhoods that have been experiencing elevated levels of noise complaints. And the event helped to raise the profile and mandate of the group and allowed members to speak directly with the residents, including students, and everyone was encouraged to complete a short survey. All the residential units visited were invited to a community barbecue the following day in the Bill Johnstone Memorial Park, and the group was very pleased with the results of both events. The Community Partnership Working Group met on September 13th, so they used that time to discuss the door-to-door campaign that was held on the 9th and the community barbecue on the 10th. And the group also participated in the Mount Allison University Off-Campus Fair on this September 13th, along with other groups including NB Power, Eco 360, the Main Street Redevelopment, Sackville Fire, Bylaw Enforcement, and the RCMP, the Sackville Commons, and other groups. The Community Partnerships Groups was also pleased to hear several public service announcements at the Mount Allison football games that reminded all residents to respect their neighbors. And the group is scheduled to meet again on October 17th. And the town is very pleased to once again sponsor the Legion Street banners. The town contributed by hanging most of the banners and sponsoring the lunch that followed at the 2018 unveiling. There are 22 new banners added this year, which expands the total number of banners in our town to 38. And we would like to thank Garth Zwicker, who I can speak personally because my dad's banner is up this year. Garth Zwicker has done an amazing amount of work to make this initiative come together, so we would like to thank him for that. And the Heritage Board met on September 20th. There was one potential permit application discussed, along with several possible changes to the grant criteria for heritage. And the board continues to explore the potential for signage improvements in the heritage conservation, and the webpage pertaining to the board is being updated. And the board is scheduled to meet again on October 17th. And that's my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Councillor Butcher? Okay.
I move that council authorize a letter from the mayor to support in principle the New Brunswick ATV Federation's request for all-terrain vehicles, ATVs, to have access on Wright Street and Mallard Drive as requested.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor O'Neill? Any discussion? Any question? Nope.
Before we get into more of a debate, I have a quick question about the application. For the purpose of use, it says join other trails. Can you clarify what that means? Because access services is one part. I know, I'm looking at you because I'm hoping you know the answer. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Mitten. You mean being able to, so I guess the ATV Federation wants access to Wright and Mallard Drive for twofold. One is to be able to access services along both of those streets, so both services on Wright Street and Mallard Drive. In addition to being able to use the area around the Visitor Information Center for a parking area, which would allow people to come park safely and then get on the trail. And I guess in terms of accessing the other trails, it's on the north side of Wright Street. So they would simply go up Wright Street and then up Wright Street and then carry on to be able to access the rest of their trail network. That'll take them throughout southeastern New Brunswick, really. Okay.
Councillor Black?
At our public safety liaison meeting, we were talking to Sergeant Paul Gagne about this issue. Do we have any final report from the RCMP as to their recommendations for support of?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Black. We had an opportunity to meet with Sergeant Gagne along with Jacques Ouellette from the development coordinator on behalf of the NBATV Federation. It was an extremely productive meeting, and I think it was very beneficial for Sergeant Gagne and Mr. Ouellette to basically have a conversation about some of the work that's gone on by the ATV Federation across the province. So this isn't something unique to our community. The ATV Federation has similar requests to municipalities a lot right up through the Acadian Peninsula. Bathurst, for example, has a considerable amount of experience and has already allowed this type of this access to exist in a municipal setting. So I think now that Sergeant Gagne understands and has a little more time, certainly he just, as we know, has returned to the job after being away for a while. So now that he's had some time to sit down and digest it and wrap his head around it, he is supportive of the proposal as presented.
Councillor Butcher?
I'd just like to speak in support of this. We have a culture in this area, I'm not sure if that's the right way to say it, of people who use off-road motorized vehicles. We have access to the trail. This is the ATV Association coming to us because they've put some time and thought into a way to make it safer, a way to make a destination spot for vehicles to be left so they can unload their off-road vehicles so that they can access the trail system. It means that it'll be bringing revenue into our community, and they're going about it in a way that's making sure that they're making it as safe for everyone as they can. We have Sergeant Gagne in support of it as well, and I think that it's a really positive thing.
Thank you. Councillor Evans?
Mike was first.
Oh, that's all.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Councillor Evans. Just for clarification for the public, when they say trails, they don't mean the rails to trails. They mean a network which the ATV people have established to allow this to become a tourism activity, which I think is an awesome job, so I support it.
Councillor Evans?
At the discussion meeting, I said I am open to being persuaded. The other thing that I said then is that I would be strongly influenced by whether or not the RCMP, who would have to deal with this, would recommend it or not. So the fact that they have is enough to persuade me. However, the other aspect of it is we are writing a letter of support to the province, asking them to make an exception to their law, which says these things are not allowed on the highway, are allowed on our roads. We will have control of this. So it's not one of these things where if we say yes to something, now it's out of our hands. We will be able to, if it turns out this is a really bad idea, we'll be able to change our own bylaw. That's my understanding. And so that safety net is reassuring. The other thing is, The association wants to do it legitimately. They don't want to do it illegitimately, and they plan on policing themselves, they have an interest in making this work. And so, as someone who regularly uses their trails to walk on, I think a little reciprocity would be a good thing, so that I'm prepared to support this for the reasons that I've given. And it'll effectively be a trial, because we'll be in a position to change our minds if it doesn't work out.
Thank you. Councillor Mitten?
Thank you, Your Worship. I've been conflicted about this and concerned about safety at that intersection by the McDonald's and traffic on Mallard, as it is a busy intersection. I asked more questions this week and got some good answers. So we're not expecting there to be much of an increase in traffic there. And the RCMP has considered it and is recommending it. If it works out, I think it could be safer. There will be signage that will be put up. I believe it's responsibility of the province and the town. Is that accurate? Sorry.
Okay. Actually, the ATV Federation will supply the signage.
So there would be signage, and at the moment it is being used, as my understanding. ATVs are using that area, and there may be more enforcement. There's off-road vehicle enforcement agents that could help enforce the laws in addition to RCMP, and it could help with tourism. So I'm inclined to support this motion, understanding that tonight will not really change anything with traffic there right now. This needs to go to Fredericton, be approved by DTI and everything, and then we'll come back to us for us to consider it again, change the bylaw, and we can repeal it at any time if it isn't working for us. So we will have the final approval, and so I'm willing to go further and see how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Black?
I just wanted to say one more thing. I had asked if there was a final report from Sergeant Gagner because he had spoken at the Public Safety Liaison meeting and said basically the same thing that Mr. Burke had just said. He said that the ATVs are already crossing the highway anyway, and if it's done in a safe and controlled manner with regards to current street laws and regulations, then that would be much, much better for him and his department. So I want to speak in favor of this motion. I think it's a good idea to have our support for this. And like Councillor Evans and Councillor Mitten, I look forward to seeing this in policy and bylaw and seeing what we can do with it.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill?
Yes, I'm in favor of this motion as well. Only have one concern, and that's I know that a lot of the ATVs travel up the roadside, and they cross the highway anyway, when not at the lights. Whenever they can get a chance, they cross. And I was just wondering, and I had mentioned it at our meeting, if there was a possibility that there could be a, I don't know whether you call it an exit or a ninzit or whatever, where bikes coming up the side of the road could come in and come up that way, up Mallard Drive. At least they'd all be going the same way to hit that stoplight or the light system, rather than still coming up the ditch area and then jumping across the road. I don't know, maybe the gentleman back there that's with the ATV Federation, I don't know, I don't know what.
We can't outside of question period.
No, okay, I'm sorry.
To Jamie?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor O'Neill. I think one of the things that we certainly discussed at length with with Mr. Ouellette from the ATV Federation is that provided this does get some traction at the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure level, and then again keep in mind at the Department of Justice and Public Safety level, and then comes back to the town for the bylaw process, that if and when, if they were to obtain the approval, there is an educational piece that the ATV Federation will be responsible for, and that'll be to advise its members that there is now a legal access in the community, advise them where exactly that legal access is, and then, again, work with their members to help get the message out that where they are to be crossing in a legal and safe way.
Thank you. Councillor Finney.
I just want to say I'm in support of it because I think, if I heard correctly, it's been on the news on 107.9 that there's about 7 other communities that have actually gotten support for this right now, and I guess it's working. So by turning around and us supporting this issue, as a matter of fact, we're putting in place safety mechanisms for which is going to be good for the whole public, as a matter of fact, and as Councillor Butcher said, there's going to be revenue actually for that as well, and they're already doing it. So why wouldn't we put in place safety measures in order to make it safe for everybody? And it'll, and if it's being supported by other municipalities, why don't we turn around and do the same thing? Show them that we have faith in them and that they'll do the right thing, and it'll be good for everybody. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, there being no newer business, I'll move on to the question period and ask the press to come up first.
I have one question on the ATV motion. I want to be clear on this idea of a trial period that the town is that accurate, that this will be a trial because the town could repeal its bylaw at any time?
The town could, if it gets to the bylaw stage and we formulate one, we can repeal any bylaw at any time. So I don't think I don't think a trial period is something that's necessary.
It's not a trial. The point is that because we can repeal it, if it were going to be the kind of legislation, we were lobbying the provincial government to do something which would then make it legal and there's nothing we could do about it after having done that, we might have more concerns. But this is something that we are asking the provincial government to do something so that then we will then do something which we can undo if it turns out that it doesn't work out. So it's not a trial. If those first 2 steps happen provincially and then we pass a bylaw, then they will be able to use it until we change the bylaw. So bylaws apply indefinitely. So it's not, strictly speaking, a trial period, but we will retain control over our bylaw. That's my point anyway.
I have a few questions on the glyphosate spraying. Apparently, this was as a result of a request. Who made the request for this action?
We received an email from Councillor Minton.
Yeah, Councillor Minton, would you like to clarify that?
Sorry, I just turned it off. Thank you. I received an email from a constituent asking if council would be considering whether to ban glyphosate. So I asked council if we would like to learn more about it or have a presentation, and then Deputy Mayor, or I guess Chair / Mayor tonight, Aiken, he knew quite a bit about it, so we decided to go the policy and bylaw route since it was we already have a pesticide bylaw, and so that's why it went to that committee.
I see that the Stop Spraying group, for instance, is asking municipalities to call for a ban. This, if I understand correctly, this motion or resolution stops well short of that and just talks about indiscriminate spraying. I'm wondering, I mean, the word ban gets thrown around, but I would be right, I think, in saying that this stops well short of calling for a ban.
Yes, it does. The problem with the stop spraying people want is that they want to stop it now. And given that 95–96% of the stuff is sprayed in agriculture, and that a lot of the crops are now genetically modified to actually resist it, so it can spray just the weeds. I think stopping it immediately is probably just not going to happen. So you can, that approach to me is more like tilting at windmills. This one at least raises the concerns about it and asks the province to, monitor it. And down the road, things might change. I should say I got an email from Mr. Wark last week, I guess, about using the word ban in this, and it's unclear to me how our pesticide bylaw and the provincial law or act interact with one another. I suspect everything they do supersedes us. So when we passed the cosmetic pesticide bylaw, we were ahead of the game. And technically, it wouldn't be covered by it because it's not a cosmetic pesticide. Okay, it's not, well, it can be, but we can't regulate sale of it, for example. So we are kind of limited in what we can actually do. I mean, it'd be nice to sort of, climb on our white steeds with our banners and go sailing off, but we just can't do it.
So I gather you're particularly concerned about the watershed area. Is there any evidence that glyphosate is being used in the Sackville watershed area?
No, because it was Irving's doing the spraying of it for forestry. And
Yes.
as far as I know, it's used in the Sackville watershed agriculturally, but not aerial spraying, but for like power lines and so on, as far as I know.
And then just to clarify, this is my last question. The town's bylaw governs cosmetic spraying by, say, homeowners. Mm-hmm. Is Roundup still banned under that provision of the town's bylaw? In other words, would it be illegal for me to go out, buy Roundup, and use it on my property within the town limits?
According to the town bylaw, you can't use it, but you can buy it. We can't ban the sale of it. So, again, these were measures essentially to raise people's awareness of using this stuff indiscriminately was a bad idea. Okay, and again, the provincial law has superseded ours because I can pat ourselves on the back. We were ahead of the game on that one, and I suspect legally it supersedes most of the provisions of ours. I don't know that for sure, but that would be my suspicion.
Homeowners could use it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they are. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But I'll point out too, Bruce, that spritzing a weed in your driveway with Roundup or spraying it from a helicopter are two very different things. So, okay, any members of the public with questions? Wendy?
Deputy Mayor Aiken and Council, I have 3 questions, but before I ask questions, I just would like to make a comment. I've noticed that the work at Exit 506 has started and it's starting to look nice. So I'd like to thank Council for the funds that they put aside for that this year on behalf of Exit 506 Committee, and we look forward to seeing what else we can do next year. My first question is about the crosswalk study. I came in August and asked about a crosswalk from Balzer Place to King and was told to come back, or that there would be an answer in September, but I wasn't able to come to that meeting, so I'm just wondering if there was an update on that.
Yes, it's on our November agenda for a presentation to council at that time, which will be in the public portion of the meeting.
Okay, perfect. My second question is, and it's kind of a weird one, but on page 24 of the pack, I put my glasses on, I could see. Just where we reference expenditures and police at 524,000 being only, 542,000 being only 29% of the budget. I'm just wondering, is there something big that happens in like October, November, December that uses 1.2 million in that 3 months?
Mr. Beal.
Yeah, the only bill that we've paid year to date for the RCMP is the January, February, March bill. So the April, May, June bill was a little late coming. It came mid-August. And we have 45 days to pay it from that date. So it was paid early October, so that will increase in October. And then the end of September bill, we'll probably get that late October, maybe early November, so that will get paid November, December. And then the end of the year bill will come in January and get accrued into December when it arrives.
Okay, so you don't accrue it every month or every quarter, you just record it as it's paid through the year?
Correct,
Okay.
because we don't have the information from the RCMP on a monthly basis on what the number counts are until the invoice comes.
Okay, just looked weird, that's why. Okay, and my third question is, I'm just wondering, so we talked about in the tourism that we had 842 parties at the tourist center. I'm wondering what the cost is of running the tourist bureau for a year approximately, and maybe you don't have that answer right here, but.
In fact, I do, because we've been presenting it in our tourism and strategic planning updates. Our budget is $23,000 for maintenance and electricity. That doesn't include staff or salaries. So it's $23,000 plus staff and salaries.
So, and how much would the staff and salaries run?
I'd have to get back to you on that, Wendy.
Okay.
I'd have to do a calculation.
I'm just curious, because if we have 842 parties, even if we said there was 4 parties in each group, that's 3,200 people potentially. And I'm just wondering, and this is just, out of curiosity, have we considered, does the Tourist Bureau bring sufficient economic value to cover the cost of it to the town? And I don't know what other municipalities are doing, and I know that there's a meeting tomorrow night, so maybe I'll come and ask the question, but I just wondered if the town of Sackville has considered whether we should even have a Tourist Bureau.
Phil?
I guess annually, the town council approves a budget and puts it forward, and we've opened up the meetings to the public to hear how best you feel that the residents feel that our money should be expended. So I think all of us sometimes can get caught into just turning over the new file for the next year and continuing to do the services and benefits. We've never, since my time here, I haven't heard any concerns, complaints in terms of the service level that comes from the tourism. But we're wide open to suggestions and invite you and any other residents to put forward information. October 24th is the first public meeting, and any suggestions are certainly welcome in emails as well in terms of what we need to look at. 2018 will be a more difficult budget than past years, where the assessment levels have been frozen, so the opportunity for growth in our revenue is going to be very limited. And so even if we do the same things we did in 2017, there's increased costs still happening out there, and that causes added stress on programs and services when you're trying to do the exact same thing with less dollars.
Right. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something about the ATV proposal. In giving them permission to have access through roads, is that including permission to use the parking lot at the information center? Because that had been mentioned in the discussion as one of their goals was to make use of that parking lot. So that is included in it?
It was, my impression it was, yes.
Okay. So the ATV users who are parking there, they presumably would be accessing the washrooms at the information center. Will their numbers be added to the visitor stats that they're counting? Just a question.
Mr. Kelly-Sparrows.
We differentiate between people who just come in to use the washroom and in
Okay,
fact will go to
I
the
wasn't
VIC.
sure about that.
Yeah, and then of course we're closed from January through
Right,
till
yeah.
April.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else? Okay, there being no one, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Councillor Tower, Councillor Finney. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.